Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Extreme Hunting Podcast presented by Nimrod Outdoors. I'm your host, Taryn Hunt. Today, I have the opportunity to sit down with Jeff Barlow, who is the founder of Nimrod Outdoors. I get the opportunity to ask him a lot of questions and pick his brain about how he's been able to be so successful in keeping his children involved in hunting and building that passion within them and creating that love for the outdoors. We also talk about his new initiative called the Hunt Mentor. Using the Utah's Hunt Mentor program, Jeff has an amazing idea this year to give a young kid, a child, the opportunity to harvest their first animal. We also talk about social media, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. We talk about a lot of the positives involved in social media, and he shares an amazing experience with us, a story that came from social media and has impacted the lives of many people in a very large way. We also talk about some of the negatives that come from social media and how to combat some of those negatives. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I had a great time sitting down with Jeff. Also, guys, please remember to check out our social media platforms, Extreme Hunting on Instagram and Taryn Hunt on Facebook. You can also reach out to me via email at extremehunting@gmail.com. I also encourage you to check out my blog. You can check out the new blog posts on there, and you can also reach out to me and send me a message on there. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you listening. Welcome to the Extreme Hunting Podcast. I'm here today with Jeff Barlow with Nimrod Outdoors. Nimrod Outdoors is an awesome social media platform and everything like that. I'll let Jeff explain what it is more, but Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, Taryn. Appreciate you having us on.
Well, we're excited.
Hopefully we'll have a great time tonight.
Oh, I'm sure we will. You're talking hunting, you really can't go wrong, honestly.
That's true. You cannot go wrong. That's true.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, those kind of things. Give us a short little introduction about you.
Okay. Well, my name's Jeff Barlow. I grew up, born and raised in southern Utah, St. George, Utah, and lived most of my life there. Till the last 10 years, we moved about 10 years ago to Price, Utah, and I've loved living here in great area here for sportsmen. You got a lot of hunting and fishing and all kinds of things right here locally. But yeah, we can be on the mountain at 10,000 foot elevation in under an hour, and we can be out on the desert riding four wheelers in under an hour. And yeah, it's just a great place to live. Growing up in southern Utah, I was close to the famed Paunsaugunt, and some great deer hunting down that direction. Yep, that's where we come from. And
have you ever hunted the Paunsaugunt?
I have hunted the Paunsaugunt. I got lucky years ago and drew an archery tag down there, and that was an incredible experience right there hunting the Paunsaugunt. I had my heart set on one buck, and I didn't get him. I ended up eating tag soup.
Happens to the best of us.
It was hard. When I had, I remember third to last day of my hunt, I had a 29 inch forky with forks that had to have been, tines on those things had to have been 20 inches long each. It was just a big old massive forky, and I had him at 28 yards broadside, and I couldn't pull the trigger on him because I had my heart set on this other buck, and he gave me the slip. I actually that was on our social media stuff. That was our very first YouTube video.
I think I've seen that video. Now that you say that, now that I remember, actually, now that you say that you did that Paunsaugunt hunt, I remember that video now.
Yep. My oldest two boys hunted with me a lot during that hunt. They would have been right around 15 and 13 years old. And where I was the hunter, they ran the camera most of the time. And there was some pretty interesting shaky footage in that video for sure. But it was a great learning experience.
Well, that's
So,
a dream of mine is, being from southern Utah, the Paunsaugunt and the Henrys are always the two that everybody always talks about, are those two areas.
yep,
And I've put in, well, the bad thing about Utah is you can only put in for one limited entry animal. And so
correct.
I've always put in for elk, and deer hasn't really been a part of what I put in for limited entry. So I don't have that many deer points. I don't think I'll ever draw a tag for either one of those. But man, even if I'm 70 years old and I finally get that tag, I'll be super excited.
Well, let me tell you, don't ever say never. I've been pretty dang lucky with my drawn tags. Um, the year before that hunt, no, 2 years before that hunt, my Paunsaugunt deer hunt, I had drawn a Wasatch limited entry elk tag with only 7 points. And we went elk hunting. So then I was on my 5 year waiting period where I couldn't put in for elk. I put in for 2 years. On the third year, I drew it.
Wow.
So I drew Paunsaugunt archery with 3 points. Um, so I also, if you watched it all last year, I had a moose tag, a once in a lifetime moose tag, here in Utah, and I don't know how I drew it. It was pure luck again. Um, but the opening day, we had talked to a couple of different hunters. One of them had 27 points. The other had 32 points. And I drew the tag with 12. So I've been pretty lucky.
There's not many people that have that kind of luck. I have the luck like your wife does when it comes to drawing tags because I have, let's see, what am I up to? I'm up to 18 elk points in Utah, putting in for a unit that's really not all that popular, and I still can't draw the tag. And I believe Dee, she has what, 22 points, somewhere around there?
Yeah, 22 points and she can't draw.
Wow.
So me and the boys have done well. Joshua, my oldest, he drew a limited entry rifle elk tag on the Manti unit with 4 points. So he hunted it as a 17-year-old with a rifle tag. And then Jacob, my second oldest, he just drew this year a limited entry archery elk tag on the Manti, and he drew it with 4 points. And so we've done well. I cannot complain. I can't complain.
No, you can. You definitely can't complain. Neither can your boys. To harvest an elk at
Nope.
that young, that's pretty impressive. And that's another thing is I'm not putting in for rifle hunts. I'm putting in for muzzleloader hunts, which should be easier to draw that tag, but
Yes,
my
they
luck.
should. Yeah, your luck.
Well, let's get back to you. And
Okay.
as I started off this podcast, I mentioned this is the Extreme Hunting Podcast presented by Nimrod Outdoors. As most people
Correct.
probably know, I'm part of Nimrod Outdoors, but Nimrod Outdoors was actually created by yourself. And I know you've been on other podcasts and people have seen it on social media, but can you tell us a little bit about what Nimrod Outdoors is?
What it is, where it came from.
Yeah.
Um, Back when I started Nimrod Outdoors, my boys were in their teenage years, and they were, of course, into the social media, electronics, and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. So I knew I had to do something to stay involved with their life, and so at the time, my wife and I had a joint Facebook account. Instagram really wasn't a thing. It was just starting, but I was starting to post up a lot of our hunting adventures and things on the pictures and the little videos on our Facebook account, and people were starting to watch them and follow them and comment. And my wife said to me one day, it says, "You got to do something different because all I ever see is your hunting stuff on my Facebook page." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, since when did it become your Facebook page?" So at that point in time, I had actually been reading in the Bible in the book of Genesis, and it talked about Nimrod, the mighty hunter, and bingo, there it is. That's what we're going to do. And so we started up these social media pages, um, Nimrod Outdoors, um, and our whole focus is is to get the youth involved um, any way we can. I'm going to put up a video this week about taking the boys on a scout camp, and it's not a hunting scout camp; it's a scout camp. But we took them out and we did some great hikes. We had a great day on Lake Powell water skiing. Just getting them out in the outdoors instead of sitting behind the screens. And so that's our whole focus, is to get kids involved in the outdoors any way we can.
Well, and that's the thing that attracted me to Nimrod Outdoors, even before I was involved at all, watching the social media, watching you with your boys, and at that time, we were in the early stages of having kids. I think our oldest at the time was 4 or 5 years old, and then my second boy was 2 or 3. So, they were really young boys, but I knew at that time that, man, I wanted to get my boys involved in hunting. I wanted to get them involved in what I loved, and watching you do that with your boys and the other members of Nimrod Outdoors, that's what really attracted me to the whole movement, if you want to call it that, because I feel that it is, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But why do you think it's why do you feel it's so important to pass on your passion of hunting to your boys? Well, to your kids.
To kids in general, yeah. I wrote an article for a part an internet website that we're part of called eHunter, and hopefully that'll get posted in the next day or so. But in that article, it talks about the decline of hunting, and how my age group, from my age up, the percent of hunters is getting bigger and bigger as we grow older. And from the age of me down, the percentage of people that are going out hunting is actually getting less and less. And so that being the case, over time, we are going to see a complete decline of hunters. My age group is going to be getting older, and they're going to have to stop hunting at some point because we get too old. Not me, I'm going to hunt till I die. But the younger generation is stopping hunting now, and so there's nobody to fill in our shoes. So at some point, if we don't do something about it, we will see a complete decline of our passion, our lifestyle, our heritage. And so that's why it's important that we get these kids involved, not just the kids, but anybody that's new and interested in hunting, get them involved in the outdoor lifestyle.
Well, I think that the kids nowadays think, oh, it's so much easier. I can just sit behind a screen and go hunting now. I don't have to go walk the mountains.
Big Game Hunter on Nintendo.
Yeah. Actually, I have that game on the Xbox, and it is still wrapped in its plastic. I have never taken it out of the plastic, and I've had it for over a year.
Well, that's a good thing for you.
Yeah, I would much rather be out in the hills seeing the real thing than seeing some animated thing on a TV screen.
Correct.
But you're absolutely correct in the fact that that's the way that it's going. Kids are looking at things like that nowadays. They don't want to. Well, it seems like it. That they don't want to be out in the hills. They don't want to.
Too much effort.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. They're missing out on a lot.
There is some great things out there. In fact, this scout camp that we just went on a couple weeks ago, or last weekend with these boys, they learned some of the most beautiful country that Utah has to offer, and they got to see some cool waterfalls, and just things that they would never see sitting behind the screen. And what's funny is we ran into a couple. I would probably say in their late 60s, from Florida, on one of these hikes. And I was talking to them, and they said, we are spending the entire month out here in Utah because it is the most gorgeous state in the entire United States. There's so much you can do from 13,000 foot Kings Peak down to the desert and the Grand Canyon and Lake Powell, and they were awestruck at our state. And there's so many kids here in our state that have no clue what's out there.
Yeah, it's the same
So
thing
we
here
just
in
got to get them
Colorado.
out.
It is, and it's the same thing here in Colorado. I mean, these kids, I'm with Young Men all the time as well as part of the scouting program, and we're going out on a scout camp next weekend, and we were talking about, hey, we want to do something a little, extraordinary, something that you guys haven't done before, and we said, okay, well, let's try eating something that you've never eaten before, and all the boys, guess what they said they had never eaten before? Elk or deer,
Oh my
ever.
goodness. Oh
And
my
I,
goodness.
yeah, it was my mind just blew up. I just like, that's unreal. How have you never even tasted that? That's to us hunters and the people that are going to listen to this podcast, that's just normal. That's just what we eat.
That's
But
right.
for
That's right.
these boys, they thought it was escargot or something like that.
That is crazy. Well, we
But
had some great moose steaks at our scout camp, so
mm,
it was awesome.
love a good moose steak. You watching your videos, you've had so much success with getting your boys out in the field, and you've been very humble about it because that's no easy task. That's a very, very hard thing to do, and you can see it in your boys' eyes. They absolutely love being in the outdoors. It's what they live for. If anybody's watched the video of Joey shooting that buck, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I
Two
can't.
years ago.
2 years ago,
2 years ago.
that yes, the excitement that came from that boy was just what this is all meant to be. This it's what we're supposed to enjoy in life. And so
Exactly.
I guess I just want to know, how have you done that with your boys, and what advice would you give other dads or moms to getting their kids into the field?
That is a great question. I think I think the number one thing that parents need to do, um, is make sure, even if it is the most miserable time on the face of the earth out in the mountains, you're rained on, there's mud everywhere, everything's soaking wet. You have to act like it's a good time and you're having fun. If you're complaining about it, they're going to complain about it. If you're having a good time, saying, shoot, there's a mud hole, let's go swimming, you know, and you're having a good time with it, their attitude will reflect your attitude. Um, and so that's the number one thing. Make sure that the image you portray, or the feelings that come out of you, are positive, and you're having fun with it, because that will help their enthusiasm and their love for the outdoors grow, even if it's a bad situation.
How was your dad when you were hunting with him? Was he like that? And the reason I ask is because I remember going hunting with my dad, and it was, shh, be quiet, don't make any noise, and oh, you're too noisy. Oh, you got to go to the bathroom right now. How was
Yeah,
it with your dad?
I remember vividly going hunting with my dad as a little boy, and of course got the same things from him like you did from your dad. Stop moving, hold still, be quiet. Um, I think that I came to a realization pretty quick when I became a dad. I wrote an article a couple years ago, and it's been published in the Mule Deer Foundation magazine, and a couple other places. Um, it's called Trophy Hunter to Trophy Teacher, and I realized very early that once I started having kids, and taking them to the field with me, my trophy hunting days for a while were probably gone. And that's something that you have to realize. Um, right now, up to this point, I've had four boys going with me. Uh, have you ever seen the shirt from Zach Griffith that says "Bow hunting sucks"?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, try hauling four boys around with you while you're trying to bow hunt. Bow hunting sucks. but we made it fun. I mean, we had a great time on the mountain. Um, and you got to realize the other thing is that buck that you shoot may be only a Forky in your eyes, but to that kid, that thing's a trophy, and he'll remember that forever. I remember numerous times when my dad killed an animal. It wasn't a great big, it was, I don't know, a Forky, a 3 point, maybe even a 4 point. But they weren't big, but I remember them vividly, and how excited I was and everything like that. And so you got to remember, from a kid standpoint, that is a trophy. And so that was one of the things that I had to get into my mind frame as well, that it doesn't matter the size, it's the experience that goes along with it that counts.
It is, and kids, it's the little things that matter to them. It doesn't have to be a huge deer. It doesn't have to be the perfect situation. It doesn't have to be the biggest shed that you find.
Oh,
With my boys, if it's just the littlest, Forky, 3 point whatever mule deer shed, they are so excited that we found something. It's like finding buried treasure to them. They're just so excited to find something.
yeah, we just finished up a series of shed hunting videos on our YouTube channel, and if you watch our little intro in there, one day we took our whole family. Mom was gone somewhere to some meeting. I said, you know what? Let's go shed hunt. We took my 4-year-old, my 7-year-old. We took my daughter at the time that was 9, and then we took the 4 older boys, and we went. Um, a lot of the time, I had Jordan on my back, and I was just packing around on my back. But I happened to catch out of the corner of my eye a little teeny Forky. I mean, this thing couldn't have been more than 2-inch split on the thing. It was little. I happened to catch it out of the corner of my eye, and I kind of sent him off that direction. And he found it, and he picks it up, and you can see him picking it up on that little intro clip to our shed hunting videos. And man, he was just totally excited about it. It was great.
I also like the opening when I think it's Jake finds the shed. He's I'm the baby shed hunting master or something like that.
Yeah, he last year, I don't know how he did it, but sheds, I mean, baby spike sheds that big, he found like 4 of them. I'm like, how do you even see those things?
Hey, a shed's a shed. It doesn't matter. It's on the pack.
But that kid, I'll hire him out. That kid has got the best eyes I have ever seen. That kid can pick out sheds. That can pick animals. He
Hmm.
sees animals from miles away that we don't see until we put the spotting scope up on them.
Well, Andy's
Uh,
a pack mule too. He packed out all those sheds. Well, I guess him and Joey packed out all those sheds, but my goodness, that was a heavy load.
he is a pack mule for sure. When I killed my moose, I think he had an entire front quarter and some extra meat on him, and he packed it out. So he is a pack horse.
That's amazing. Well, I don't mean to
So
get too far off track, but I did want to. Something came to mind that I wanted to chat about, and you mentioned who all went with you on that shed hunt, and you mentioned that your wife went with you, and I know a lot of what Nimrod is about is the youth and whatnot, but can you speak a little bit to the relationship or how it's affected your relationship by having involving your wife in some of these things? And this may be good or maybe bad. This is going to be interesting for all of us, but just curious.
yeah, this could be an interesting topic.
And
Uh,
D, don't listen.
yeah. At times, she feels like she is a hunting widow. Um, she quite often says, "All you ever do is take your boys and go." And I said, "Well, let's go. Let's go, and we'll go. We'll go do something." In fact, at times she is fearful of going out with me. We went Christmas tree hunting a couple of years ago, and we hiked up this trail, and we'd got back in there a mile or so hiking this trail looking for the perfect tree. And oh, I like that one. Oh, I like that one. I like that one. And we get up the trail about a mile, and I said, well, you know what? We got to go. So which one should we get? And she goes, I think I like the very first one that we saw down at the bottom of the trail. I'm like, really? And so me and a couple of the older boys ran back down the trail, to go cut that tree and get it onto the car as she brought the little kids down the trail. And we get back down there, and I can't remember which one it is, of course. Um, and so we sit there and wait, and we wait, and we wait, and all of a sudden I'm like, something's wrong. So I leave the boys there at the trail, and I head back up the trail, and I find her up the trail, um, and she has slipped on some ice while she had Jordan on her shoulder, and she slipped on some ice and fell and had broken her leg. Uh, and she was
Oh
hobbling
man.
along, packing along, and trying to drag the kids along down the trail to get back to where we were. And so I think sometimes she wonders, do I really want to go out with him or don't I?
She's a
but
tough gal
she,
though.
yeah,
She's a gardener through and through. And for those that don't know, my wife and Jeff's wife are actually related, and so they're tough gals.
they are tough gals. They grew up, both of them grew up in hunting families. So it's kind of in their blood a little bit too. So
hmm Well, I think that a lot of people are afraid to involve their spouses in hunting, well, in what they're doing with hunting, for fear that I don't know, the quote unquote get in the way or whatever. But I think it's healthy for a relationship to involve your spouse. Take her with you when you go out hunting. You may be yelling back at her, "Shh, be quiet," but at the same time, you're building those memories together, just as you're doing with your kids. And hunting memories are, I think, the best memories.
yeah, we go for hikes. We go camping together. Anything we can do in the outdoors to build those memories. That's true.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about this thing that you've been teasing about on social media. And for those that are members or well, those that receive the Nimrod newsletter, if you're not one of those subscribers to the Nimrod newsletter, I encourage you to do so. You sent out the
Right.
details in that newsletter, and you've talked a little bit about it on social media, but you've started this Hunt Mentor movement that I've been seeing going back and forth, and I'd like you to talk about that a little bit if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Well, a hunt mentor is exactly what it sounds like. I know in Utah they have an incredible mentor program. It used to be that you had to be related to the kid that you were going to mentor. Now they've changed it, and you can mentor any kid. Um, and so what I've decided to do is this year Jacob has an elk tag. Um, my oldest boy Joshua has a deer tag. Joey has a deer tag, and my 13-year-old son, hunting for the very first time this year, has a deer tag. So we have plenty of tags in our house. And so I am going to give up my tag, and I am going to mentor a youth and let him hunt on my tag, him or her hunt on my tag. We're going to put a contest out there for the kids. They're going to be able to submit an entry, and we will pick a winner. And whoever that winner is, we're going to take them up onto the mountain, and we're going to do what we call Camp Nimrod, where we're going to bring them and their family. We're going to put on a big shindig. We're going to do a big dinner. We'll maybe have the DWR come up and talk about conservation and hunting and things like that. We've got some of our sponsors that are pitching in some prizes, and we'll give those prizes to the kid, and we'll make this a special occasion for the kid. Now, there's going to be a stipulation on these kids. We want a kid that has put in for the draw for his first time or his second time, maybe even his third time, and never drawn a deer tag in the state of Utah. Someone that has never hunted deer in Utah. And so those are the kids that we're going to be looking for, is somebody that has not been able to draw. This year's draw results came out. I heard a lot of people on social media saying, "Well, my kid didn't draw a tag. He was a first year applicant, and he didn't draw." And I think Utah ought to give all kids first time hunters a tag, which I would not be opposed to. giving first year hunters a tag.
Agreed.
Um, but so I heard a lot of that on social media, and it kind of sunk in on me and saying, if we want this next generation to love the outdoors and be hunters, they got to have the opportunity to hunt. Um, there's lots of other hunts that they can do. They can buy an over-the-counter elk tag. They can buy a turkey tag, or they can do pheasant hunts or whatever. There's a lot of different hunts that they can go on, but there's something to be said, and there's just something nostalgic and historic about rifle hunting mule deer. And so I'm going to give my tag up. We're going to pick a kid. We're going to take him up on the mountain and show him a great time, and hopefully get him a deer, him or her. We'll leave it at that, him or her. I'm also looking for any other guys that want to be part of this, want to be a hunt mentor, to join with us, and hopefully we can get 2 or 3 or 4 kids up to Camp Nimrod, and that would just be awesome.
This is crazy. I mean, this kid that's going to be going on this hunt this year probably is sitting at home right now thinking, I got skunked this year. I'm not going to get to go hunting. I'm going to have to wait for next year. And
Yep.
whoever
And
this kid is, they're going to get it.
yeah, and at this point, if he's put in for, or he or she has put in for a couple of years and hasn't drawn, they may be losing faith in hunting. They
Hmm.
may be to the point, I guess I won't hunt. I can't get a tag. I'm not worried about it. So this might be a life-changing experience for him, which I hope it is. I hope it's a great, great thing for him.
Well, and I think it will be, especially if you do exactly what you talked about in the beginning, as far as making it fun, making it exciting for the kids, which it will be. I mean, Camp Nimrod's going to be amazing with good food, good
Yep.
people, and like you said, if you can get more people involved in this, so that it's not just you and one kid, if it could be 5 guys with 5 kids
Yeah.
that have never hunted before in Utah, and like you said,
Yep.
being born and raised in southern Utah myself, I that's what I grew up doing was rifle
Yep.
hunting mule deer. I did that with my dad, my grandpa. There is something nostalgic about that is it's so much fun. I do have to paint the picture here real quick though on this whole thing. So for those of you that don't know, Jeff has 7 kids and now he's going to take on another kid and
Yep.
go
We are.
hunting.
Yep. We have 7 kids. 6 of them are boys. We have one beautiful girl. We have one rose amongst all of our thorns. Um, but she is just as much into hunting as any of the boys. She goes out and she'll set trail cams with us. She goes hiking with us. Um, I remember years ago. She's 10 now, almost to turn 11. When she was about 4, we were watching some hunting videos on YouTube, and this elk bugles, and she comes walking through the room and just bugles right away with just loud and just "Woo!" She tries to bugle as a little 4-year-old, and I go, yes, I've done it right.
That's just amazing, though. I mean, you've got to be either very patient or just a little bit crazy to be taking. And in all seriousness,
Maybe
though,
both.
yeah, maybe a little bit of both. But in all seriousness, you're very humble about this, that you're doing this. But this is no small task. This is a big thing because it's not just the kid that you're going to be taking on. I mean, it's going to be his mom or dad, maybe even a sibling, coming up to this camp,
Yeah,
and it's not just taking them out and hey, there's a deer, go shoot it. You're going to teach them how to hunt and spend a few days in the mountains, and it's going to
yeah.
be hard, and they're going to learn those kind of things.
I'm actually talking to a good friend of mine, Steve Athey from Live Wild, Eat Wild. He is hoping to be able to come to Camp Nimrod, and if you don't follow Live Wild, Eat Wild, you need to. He has got some incredible recipes and ways to process and butcher wild animals. And man, he is just awesome. He happened to be up on our moose hunt. He helped me break down the moose, and man, it was great. Anyways, Steve's going to hopefully be able to come up to camp. We may do a little seminar on how to field dress an animal, or how to butcher the animal after you've got it back. We may do these little seminars for these kids so that they can learn these skills while they're at Camp Nimrod.
That would be fantastic. Just to have that education while you're up there, that'll be amazing for them. I'm guessing that all this is going to be on social media. You're going to be posting a lot of live videos and stuff like that, which I think will also get not only that kid involved, but a lot of the other kids of the friends of this kid
Yeah,
and other people.
yeah, we're hoping to get everything on our social medias, our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of our social media platforms. Um, Also, like I said, we're looking for others to help with this. If these guys that want to mentor have tags that they want to let a kid fill, um, but they're not on the Manti unit like we're going to be, they can do the Hunt Mentor program that we're trying to get moving. They can do it in whichever unit their tag is good for. We'll set up a way that they can, if they video anything, take pictures or anything, they can send us those pictures and videos. We'll include them in our YouTube videos so that they can be part of the whole Camp Nimrod Hunt Mentor, the whole movement. And so, just because they're not on the Manti with us doesn't mean they can't be part of this program. If you're in Colorado, find a kid, take them out. If you're in Wyoming, Pennsylvania, it doesn't matter. Find a kid, take them out. Be a mentor to that kid and get them outside.
What about being a mentor to somebody that's not a kid? What if you were to find someone that's older that has never hunted before that would like to get into it? Could that be part of the hashtag Hunt Mentor
Oh
program as
yeah,
well?
definitely, definitely. We met a guy last year on my moose hunt. We actually ran into him a couple of different times as we were hiking in and out of the trails and things like that. And he started following us. He was from Pennsylvania, had moved to Utah, um, and this winter before the application period started, he started messaging me on Instagram, asking me questions, telling me he wanted to get back in, he wanted to get into hunting. I think he may have done it as a little kid in Pennsylvania, but hadn't hunted for years and years. And he wanted to start hunting in Utah now that he was out here. And so he just started asking me all kinds of questions and things like that. And it was great that I could be able to talk with him and help him out and help him learn. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a kid. If you know your neighbor down the street and he's expressed some interest in getting into hunting or learning about it, take him out. Um, Even if it's on a scouting trip where you take him out and you've set some trail cams, you want to go check the trail cams. I tell you, that's one of the coolest things, to take a kid out there and let him pull the card out of the camera and put it into a phone or something and start looking through the pictures and say, oh my heck, that animal was right here 15 minutes ago. It's just cool. Take them out whenever you go. So yeah, it doesn't have to be kids.
Well, it's hard for people not to fall in love with it, regardless of your age. It can be anybody. I had the opportunity recently to take out a friend of mine who had never hunted in his life. I mean, I think he went bird hunting, like pheasant hunting one time. They didn't get anything. They only went for a short amount of time, if I remember right. Took him on a turkey hunt in South Dakota, and it was, again, kind of like the kids. It was the little things that he was just amazed by and just so happy about. Like our last stand before we ended up getting pushed out by the snow, I we'd only taken two guns. He didn't have a gun, so he had to use one of ours. And so I said, "Here, hold the gun on this stand." And that made his entire trip. He was so excited that he was sitting in the woods with decoys in front of him, calls being made around him, and he was holding a gun. And
Yep.
that made his entire trip. He couldn't care less
Yeah.
if he shot anything. He was just happy to have it.
We took a young man out a few years ago. It's on one of our YouTube videos. His dad wasn't able to take him out, and so we took him out with us. And he wasn't able to harvest an animal. He tried real hard a couple of times, um, but he ended up finding probably a 150, 155 inch mule deer deadhead, a beautiful 4 point buck, beautiful buck. Um, so we marked it on the GPS and we headed back to camp. We were going to call the DWR and tell them where it was and all that kind of stuff so they could go out and investigate. As we were sitting there in camp, the DWR officers happened to drive by. And so we flagged them down. We told them what was going on. They went with us right at that moment. They went right to the deer with us. They looked at it, investigated it. They brought it back to their truck. They wrote him a possession ticket so that he could have it, and he got to haul it home with him right then. It made his day. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, I'll bet he was stoked.
Yeah. So
that is funny. Yeah, it is. It's the little things for anybody. Like I said, regardless of age, it is really those little things. Even a small deadhead like that.
Yeah.
And what a cool experience too. To experience the whole process of getting the DWR, having them check it out, being legal and everything that you're doing.
Doing it right.
Exactly, doing it right. I mean,
Yep.
what a great way to be a mentor. So, well, I'm excited about this Hunt Mentor program. I think those that are seen on social media, from the comments that I've seen on Instagram and whatnot, people are starting to really get involved in it and wanting to be involved in it from what I can see.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a lot of messages from guys saying, "Hey, tell me about this. What are you doing? I'd be interested in mentoring." And some of those guys, like I said, they're not from Utah or they have tags in different units. They can still be part of the Hunt Mentor movement and take a kid out and mentor that kid. So just because you're not going to be on the Manti hunting with us doesn't mean you can't join the movement. So yeah, please, if anybody has a tag that is willing or wants to mentor youth, please contact me. Love to hear from you.
Very cool, man. I want to switch gears a little bit here. I consider you a what do you call it, a public figure in the social media world. You're out there. You have a significant following on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all those. I want to talk a little bit about social media, and I know people probably ask you these questions all the time. The good, bad, and the ugly of social media, and I know there is all three of those, and I'm sure you've witnessed it all. But I really want to focus more on the good side of that, and I know there's good things. And could you share some of the good things that have come from being such a public figure on social media?
I will share with you one story that happened just this year because of social media. Good friend of mine, Ryan Greenfield. He's becoming more and more involved with Nimrod Outdoors. He was on quite a few of our YouTube videos this year while we were out hunting.
He's the one that shot the deer with a bow at 400 yards or something like that. So
92 yards. It was incredible, and that a lot of people say bad things about it. If you've practiced and you're efficient at that yardage, the deer did not know we were there, so it wasn't spooked in any way.
It was a perfect shot.
Perfect shot, 92 yards, perfect shot, clean pass through. The deer went 40 yards and killed over.
Wow.
It was incredible. Anyways, Ryan, just a really good guy. We have lots of fun on our videos with Ryan. He's quite a character. But one night, I was working on my social media, doing some stuff on Instagram and Facebook and things like that, doing some posts, commenting on things. I get a message on Facebook Messenger. And it was the most random, odd message I'd ever received on social media. I'm like, what in the world? This lady messaged me and said, my son was watching your YouTube videos, and "Do you know Ryan Greenfield?" I said, "Yeah. Why?" He says, "He's my son's father." And at that point, I was like, okay,
What?
this just got really weird. Um, anyways, come to find out, um, this young man was just turning 18, just graduating from high school. Um, his mother had told him his father's name before, but they could never find him. Um, he happened to be watching a Nimrod Outdoors YouTube video where Ryan was in the video. I called him Ryan Greenfield, and the kid stopped, paused the movie, and said, "Hey, Mom." And she came in, and he says, "Is that my dad?" And she said, "That looks like him."
Oh
And so she
my
contacted
gosh.
me. So she contacted me. I was like, okay, is somebody playing a joke on me here? What is this? So I was screenshotting the comments back and forth between me and her, and I sent them to Ryan. And he says, "I don't have any idea." Anyways, turns out that this kid is Ryan's son. And because of our videos, we were able to help a father and son get back together. It blew my mind. I never knew that I always envisioned Nimrod Outdoors as helping fathers and sons and families come closer together. But that gave it a whole new meaning.
Dude, I've got chills right now. That is
It
like,
was incredible. And so
wow.
they have talked back and forth a few times. If I remember right, his name's Colby. He's coming from Texas here to Utah in July, and going to spend some time with Ryan in July. Just an incredible story. So yes, there is very good things that can happen with social media.
Well, first of all, that story, that is amazing. You never, I mean, see, that's the thing. You never know what these things, and the world we live
Yeah,
in today, social media, whatever it is, we're so connected nowadays, or can be
yeah,
connected nowadays, and so you just never know what's going to spark, what's going to happen with these things.
yeah. It blew my mind. Social media can be used in such a negative way,
And mostly
or it can
is.
be used in such a positive way. I
Hmm.
get people commenting quite often on, anti-hunters or whatnot. Um, I can't believe you're teaching your kids how to kill animals and blah blah blah, and this type of stuff. My philosophy is I'm not going to fight them. That's their opinion. They're welcome to have their opinion. I thank them for their opinion and their viewpoint, um, and it shuts them up. 90% of the time, they don't comment. They don't continue to comment. And so, if I can respect their opinion, they can learn to respect mine. Hopefully,
Yeah.
so it can be used in a very positive or a very negative way.
Well, and it's all on how you take it. Again, you're very humble in this whole environment. I think a lot of people, it really gets under their skin. I've even seen big name people that start lashing out a little bit because the comments
Yeah,
are really affecting them, and I can't blame them. I mean, some of the comments that people are saying about us as hunters are
Ooh,
horrendous, and it's not
yeah,
the you know not that I disapprove of what their thoughts are or anything like that. I mean, on a daily basis here in Colorado, it happens every day. I run into people
yeah.
that are anti-hunters and they just cannot believe that I would go and kill an animal. But at the same time, I can't believe some of the stuff they do either. So, but I have an understanding of what they do, and I would hope that they would have the understanding of what I do. And I think that's just the world in which we live. But again,
Right.
social media gives us that point of contact where we are so connected, and people, you know, almost anonymously can, make these comments, horrible comments. I've seen
Yeah.
them on your post before. I've seen them on your videos before. Be honest with me. Does it ever really affect you, or do you keep, turn the other cheek, keep your head up, and just keep going forward?
Yeah, I've come to the point I've realized that They're just out to try to pick a fight. That's all they're doing. If you can be civil about it and talk to them. I had this lady once. I posted up a picture of my friend's son. He killed a beautiful elk on his hunt. Um, and this lady came on and says, I can't believe that you teach these kids how to do this and blah, blah, blah. And started going off on me. And I thanked her for her opinion. And I very cordially and nicely said, this young man, this 20-year-old young man is helping to provide for his family. His family will use all of that meat from that elk to feed their family for the next year. His little brother, his mom and dad, they'll have food on their table for the next year because of this young man and what he has done for his family. How is that so bad as compared to the 33-year-old living in his mother's basement playing video games all day and living off of his mom that people are okay with?
Right.
And I civilly just talked to her, and she said, okay, well, I can understand your point, and blah, blah, blah. And we were very civil about it at that point. But at the beginning, she was just there to pick a fight. But at the end, we both could see each other's points of views, and we were okay with it.
Well, and I think sharing experiences on social media, I think that's the thing that I enjoy the most, especially of your videos, just this, seeing you sharing those memories that you're making with your kids, with your wife, with all those around you. I mean, you're sharing all those things with everybody, and it's a feel-good story. And I mean, not to get too cheesy here, but we like feel-good stories. And to see you, I mean, to see your boys, just to see your older boys take out your younger boys and go shed hunting. Or things like that. I mean, that is a feel-good story that we're getting from social media. And I mean, those are the things I try to steer towards. I try to avoid all the negativity because I personally don't have time for it, to be honest with you. But there is so much positivity, and I think that's one of my favorite things about Nimrod Outdoors is it's looking for the positive. What are your plans with Nimrod Outdoors? What's your goals with it?
Well, I didn't start Nimrod Outdoors to become famous or anything like that. I started it to have something to do with my boys, to have something to do with my sons. If we could get others involved, other youth involved, great, love it. The thing that excites me now is that our message is being heard by people and understood by people, and they like it. And I just want this whole thing to continue to grow. If the Nimrod Nation could become 1 million hunters strong, that were mentoring youth and helping youth and new hunters, novice hunters that have not been out hunting before, man, that would be so awesome. If we could come together as a group and fight for each other as much as we try to fight against the antis, man, we would be an unstoppable force. It could be an awesome thing if we would just support each other instead of this nitpicking thing of, oh man, you couldn't have taken that 400-inch bull legally. There's no way you could do that. Instead of being jealous against each other, saying, you should say, holy crap, that's an awesome bull. Congratulations. So yeah, if we could continue to grow Nimrod Outdoors and get more people involved in helping new hunters and the youth and the future of our heritage and our passion, man, that would be awesome.
Well, it'd be nice to see those numbers flipped, to look at the numbers like you were talking about in the beginning of how many hunters age 40, 45 and older versus the number of hunters under that age. If we could reverse that and really increase the number of hunters that are coming into the, whatever you want to call it, passion sport, use whatever word you want to use there, it helps. And people actually think we're kind of crazy saying that. Why do you want more people out there killing your animals and doing all that? And
Taken
uh,
away from my spot.
yeah, exactly. That's my spot. I've never been that way, but but it's not that. This is our passion. This is what we want to pass on to our kids and our families and those around
Yeah,
us. It's something that we love, and so things that you love, you want to share with other people that you really care about. So
correct.
a million people. That's what we're going for, huh? A million
That
people.
would be that would be awesome. But why stop there?
I like how you think. I really like how you think.
You
You've
know,
got the
you look at all these other groups. Just to name like Hush and Born and Raised and Randy Newberg that have these massive followings. If we could get that kind of a following that all of us had the same motivation of getting that next generation and new hunters out in the field with us and passing on our heritage to these guys, man, that would be incredible.
It would. That's a lot of the reason that I want to do this podcast. Everybody that I've talked to says, "Oh, there's so many hunting podcasts out there," and there are. There's quite a few podcasts out there, but only if I only affect a certain amount of people, that doesn't, that's all that matters. That
Yeah.
those people will be that much more involved in the hunting environment, and
Yep.
so me, Nimrod Outdoors, like you said, Born and Raised, Hush, all these guys, we're just making a bigger movement and getting bigger each and every day, and I think that's what's most important, honestly.
If we stick together and don't fight each other. Yep.
Yeah, I don't see really any reason to fight against someone else that's in the same industry that we are. We're all trying to accomplish really the same thing. We have a passion for something,
Yep.
something that's amazing and something that we enjoy, and we're able to share that passion together. So, like you said, do this together and do a lot of these type
Yeah.
of things together. I mean, this is great networking between you and I and different podcasts and videos that you've done as well.
Yeah. Correct. You know, I, the thing I want other uh, parents to realize and understand, like you said, I have 7 kids. I don't have a ton of disposable income. Up until last year, my moose hunt, up until that time, 95% of the videos on our YouTube channel were shot from my cell phone.
Wow.
I'm just an average Joe. I don't go out of state hunting very often because I don't have that income that I can go pay for out of state tags. Um, but I take every opportunity that I can to get my kids out and go do something outdoors, whether you go shoot targets or go shed hunting or go camping or fishing, whatever it is. I take the opportunity to get my kids outdoors, and anyone can do that.
Well, there's this misconception that people have that hunting is a rich man's sport. It's really not. It does not take a
Yeah,
rich man to be in this sport. It's just a matter of getting into the mountains wherever you're at and being with the wildlife that are in those mountains.
correct. On a general deer unit that we hunt, I've seen 160 to 200-inch bucks on a general unit. If you get out there, you do your work, get out there and scout a little bit, you can find them. They're out there. You can't just sit on your couch until the night before opening day and say, "Okay, let's go hunt," and think that you're gonna be successful.
No.
But if you put in a little bit of effort, you get off the couch, you get out there, you can do it.
Yeah, and you'll be amazed at the things that you see. And you don't like I said, you don't have to go far. In fact, I posted a blog post today about urban hunting. I mean, goodness gracious, get right outside of town and you can see some amazing animals that some people never see in their entire lives because they don't get off the couch.
That's right. I posted up a picture a week or so ago of a beautiful buck that was started. Had great eye guards. He probably had 2 3 inch eye guards. He was growing out pretty wide. He was up splitting. He had split his first split, and he was starting to work on his 4-point splits. Um, we actually saw him from the couch. He was standing in our backyard.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, there are those urban deer that are just great to have in your backyard. But man, if you can get up on the mountain, it's so much better for me.
It is. Yeah, you get to experience things that are just breathtaking and it's memories. That's the thing. You're never going to remember sitting on a couch watching a movie. It's just something you'll never really remember anything really about it. But you'll never forget that time that you're standing on a mountain and you see the first Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep of your life. You see that, you'll never forget that.
You- you'll never forget even 17-year-old Josh killing his limited entry bull elk and it dropping in the creek in 2 feet of water and us spending hours and hours trying to figure out how to get him out of the water before we could even start cutting him up, before we could even start packing him out. Miserable day, but that kid will never forget that experience.
Nope, he'll take that to, to his grave for the rest of his life. It'll be a story that he shares with his kids, with his grandkids, something that'll live on forever. And the great thing about you is you're capturing it on video so he can show the video of it as well.
That's right. That's right. I've got an example of that is my grandfather's buck that is now hanging on my wall, and the story that went along with that buck was just, man, it'll live for generations,
Yep.
generations. My uncle told me the story. I've told my children the story. They'll tell their children, and that buck will live on forever.
Yep. Absolutely. Hey, one other thing that I want to talk about as we wrap up here, and I don't want to turn this into a plug session for sponsors or partners, but there's a lot of young kids, we'll say kids out there wanting to start a social media page or a
Hmm.
podcast or a YouTube video or whatever it is. And you've seemed to partner with a lot of great companies. I mean, truly great companies.
Yeah.
Not that they produce great products, but they have great values as well. Let's talk a little bit about that and how you've gone about that, how been able to get in touch with these folks. And again, I don't want this to really be a plug session, but maybe some of the people that you work with.
Yeah. Well, first off, for those that are looking into, trying to find sponsors or partners or whatever, the first thing is you need to look more at the company than the product. Who is it that is part of that company? Are they going to stand by you? Are they going to be loyal to you like you're going to be loyal to them? Or are you just another flash in the pan to them? The companies that we work with, the people themselves are what make the product great and what make the company great. They're just top notch people to work with. Um, Donnie from Ready Nutrients, one of the best guys that I've ever met. Just a great guy. The other thing that I would suggest is don't go for the moon right off the bat. Don't, if you're looking for a camel company to partner with or sponsor, don't say you're going to go to Sitka Gear or whatever and say, hey, you got to sponsor me. They're going to say, what? You know, don't think that. The camel company that we work with, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. Number one, their camo is great. Their gear is excellent gear. You got the cold winter stuff, you got the layering system, you got the rain gear. King's Camo is an excellent product, but the people at King's Camo are what make the relationship.
When they
Uh,
when you reached out to them, were they looking for a certain number of followers before they would partner with you, or is it more of, hey, this is what we want to do as Nimrod Outdoors, and and this is what we're planning to do, and this is why we want to partner with you, or were they looking for more data to go off of?
Great question. A little bit of both is the answer. They've got to have something that you can give them so that they get a return on their investment with you. If you have 50 followers on Instagram, um, that they have no value there. If you post up a picture of you and King's Camel and say this camel is awesome, how many likes are you going to get off that if you only have 50 followers?
Right.
You know, the exposure from your pages, your social media pages, has to be worth the investment for them. So yeah, they do look at numbers. Other great things they look at are who you are. If you're on your social media page and you're posting up, swear words all over your social media page, and you're posting up, things that are questionable on your social media page, they're going to look at it and say, is that somebody that we want our name associated with? So I had a pretty good following before I even started approaching some of these people, some of our partners. I actually contacted Horn Hunter, our backpack company that we work with, and man, they are just awesome. They are, to me, they are the best backpack out there because they have just as good a quality backpack as any of the others, but for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
They're not out there trying to gouge their customers. They're trying to make a good quality product and get it to their customers at a reasonable price. And that's important. A company that's not just in it for the money, but in it to supply a good product and help people out. And so Horn Hunter backpacks, Ready Nutrients, King's Camel, Phone Scope, we love the people that we partner with. They're excellent partners. So my suggestion would be to anybody that's looking at trying to find partners or sponsors, whatever you want to call them, do your homework, study that company out. What are their values? Do they stand behind their product? And those kind of things. That would be the biggest thing.
When I want to say this, I think that it's a little bit of give and take with it too. Someone like yourself who is out there using their product, and you coming out there and saying King's Camo is a great camo and it works for this, this, and this. I'm going to believe you saying that. And I think that's a good thing for Kings to be able to hear that as well as see you doing that versus some, like you said, some guy that has 50 followers who has never taken a picture or anything in that feed of wearing King's Camo. All of a sudden, here's this King's Camo. You should wear this because it's the best. Well, how do you really know when Jeff Barlow and his 14 kids are all using, I'm just kidding, his 7 kids are all using King's Camo and they all love it and it works for all of them? I mean, that says something to me.
Yeah, it really is great when you have a history of using their product before you approach them and say, hey, do you want to partner up? If they can go back through your social media feed and see that you've been wearing a Horn Hunter backpack for years and you've been posting up pictures of shed hunts with that Horn Hunter backpack just completely full of sheds, they can see that benefit that you've been doing for years before you even approached them. Yeah. So that is huge.
Yeah, I think so. And again, like I said, you're very humble. I've said this many times during this podcast, but you're very humble.
It makes me that way.
Again, D, don't listen. But no, I think you are, and you have been using these products forever and basically doing quote unquote free advertising for a lot of years. So kudos to you and the partners that you have made and whatnot. Well, Jeff, let's go ahead and get this wrapped up. We're over an hour now of chatting. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me tonight and have this call. As most people know, I'm part of Nimrod Outdoors and have been for quite a while now. I love what Nimrod Outdoors is doing and this Hunt Mentor movement. If you haven't looked into it, you've heard what's on this podcast, but look into it more. If you have the ability to get involved in this, I think this would be a huge thing for 2019. Before we go, Jeff, any goals you have for 2019 that you personally want to accomplish?
Me personally,
Mm-hmm.
well, my goals, number one, I want to get Jacob's elk tag filled. That's my number one goal. A limited entry elk tag in Utah. Number two, my son Jace. It's his very first year hunting with us. He's actually going to be the hunter. He passed his hunter safety, and so number two goal is to get Jace a deer. Um, the number three goal is to fill my other two boys' tags, and uh, and then number four is and probably the biggest one, even though it's number four, probably the biggest one is Hunt Mentor and Camp Nimrod. I just want to make this an incredible experience for these kids, and hopefully change some lives in the process.
Awesome. Those are big, lofty goals for 1 year. That's a lot of animals to harvest. That's a lot of freezer
That's a
to
lot of
fill.
work.
Hopefully you have
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
freezers there in Price.
we have three freezers at our house.
Good, good. You're gonna need them, it sounds like.
Yes.
Well, where can people find you on social media? Whether it be, I guess, social media, YouTube, anything like that. Give us where they can find
Yeah.
you.
All of our social media platforms are Nimrod Outdoors. You may get an underscore, Nimrod underscore outdoors, but everything is Nimrod Outdoors. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Um, my kids even made me get a Snapchat. I have a Snapchat if you want to Snapchat me. I don't know how to use it, but we do have a Snapchat under Nimrod Outdoors. So we're on all the social media, and I love to talk to anybody. I had a young man, 16 years old, message me today or yesterday, and he says, "You are so awesome. Keep doing what you're doing." And I thought, and that is just cool. Thank you so much. So that's one big thing I want to thank everybody that supports Nimrod Outdoors. It is overwhelming, the response we get.
Good. Well, thank you, Jeff. Again, I appreciate you spending some time with me tonight. I think this was some great information, a lot of stuff that people can learn from this. So, appreciate all you're doing. Seriously, just like that kid said, keep up the good work. This Hunt Mentor thing, I am hoping, and I know it will, with what you've done in the past, I know it'll be a success, and it will be a lot of fun for a lot of people. So, thanks again for jumping on with me.
All right. Thank you much, Taryn. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.